At 11:58 p.m. on New Year's Eve, my husband answered my video call with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. His mother was behind him, frozen mid-sip of champagne. Neither of them spoke when they saw what was on my screen. By midnight, my marriage was already over. They just didn't know it yet. My name is Delaney Cross, and 3 hours earlier, I was still trying to convince myself I was imagining things. The house smelled like rosemary chicken and furniture polish, that too clean scent my mother-in-law loved. I was supposed to be there helping set the table, but instead I was sitting in my car outside my friend Tasha's apartment, staring at a text from Evan. Mom thinks it's better if you don't come tonight. She says New Year's energy matters. I reread it maybe 20 times, like the meaning might change. I called him. He picked up on the second ring, like he'd been waiting for it. Babe, don't make this a thing, he said, already tired. She just gets weird about holidays. Evan, I said quietly, did she really say I bring bad luck? Silence. Then a long exhale. She didn't mean it like that. That was the moment something inside me shifted, not shattered, not exploded. Just tilted, like a picture frame hanging slightly crooked. I should have driven home. I should have turned my phone off and cried into a pillow like a normal person whose husband just chose his mother over her. Instead, I drove to the mall. I don't even remember parking. I just remember walking under those fluorescent lights, my reflection following me in dark storefront glass, thinking, if I go back tonight, nothing will ever change. Evan called 3 times. I didn't answer. At 9:17 p.m., I made the worst emotional decision of my life. At 9:42, I pressed purchase. By 10:30, I was sitting in my car again, holding something heavy in my lap, my hand shaking so hard I almost dropped it. At 11:54, I opened my contacts and hit FaceTime. And when Evan answered, with his mother right behind him, I lifted the camera slightly and said, very calmly, Happy New Year. Then I turned the phone toward what I'd bought. And his mother stopped breathing. Evan's face went flat first, like his brain needed a second to catch up to his eyes. His mother made a small sound. Not a gasp, not a word. Just air leaving her lungs. Delaney, Evan said slowly. What is that? I tilted the camera back toward me before either of them could study it too long. Something I bought tonight, I said. Since apparently I'm bad energy. Stop, he said, sharper now. You're being dramatic. Behind him, his mother set her champagne glass down very carefully, like if she moved too fast the world might crack. Evan, she said quietly, call me when you're alone. Then she walked out of frame. That hurt more than if she'd stayed and yelled. I hung up without saying goodbye. The silence inside my car felt thick, like breathing through cloth. My phone buzzed instantly, Evan calling back. I let it ring. Then again. Then texts. What are you doing? Where are you? Delaney, this isn't funny. I dropped the phone into the cup holder and pressed my forehead to the steering wheel. The thing in the passenger seat shifted slightly in its box when I moved the car keys. I didn't look at it. I couldn't. 3 months ago, I would have driven straight to his parents' house anyway, smiling, apologizing for tension I didn't create. I used to believe if I just loved people hard enough, they'd eventually relax around me. That was before Thanksgiving. Before the jokes about my job being unstable. Before his mom started introducing me as Evan's current phase. Before Evan started saying things like, you know how she is, instead of, that's not okay. I met Evan when I was 26, working late shifts at a marketing firm. He brought coffee to a client meeting and forgot half the order. He laughed at himself so easily. I loved that. His family was tight. Sunday dinners. Group chats. Vacations planned a year out. At first, it felt warm. Then it felt like there was a test I kept almost passing. And lately, I'd been failing more. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Tasha. Girl. Evan's mom just posted some storms remove rotten branches. Are you okay? I stared at the message until my vision blurred. Then I finally looked at the box beside me. And for the first time since buying it, I wondered if I'd just detonated my own life. I didn't sleep that night. I drove until the roads were empty, and the fireworks, were just echoes bouncing between buildings. Around 2 a.m., I ended up in the parking lot behind my office, engine off, watching my breath fog the windshield. My phone was a graveyard of notifications. Evan, 14 missed calls. His sister, Mariah, 6 texts. Unknown number, probably his mom, twice. I opened Evan's last message. You scared her. Do you understand that? You scared my mother. Not are you okay? Not where are you? Just that. My chest felt tight, like I'd swallowed something sharp. I typed she scared me first, then deleted it. At 3:12 a.m., I made another emotional mistake. I drove to his parents' house. I don't even remember deciding. One second I was sitting still, the next I was pulling onto their street, headlights cutting across their perfect winter lawn decorations. Their living room lights were still on. Of course they were. I sat in the car for 10 minutes, arguing with myself. Go home. No, talk to him. This is already too far. Maybe you can fix it. I grabbed the box from the passenger seat and walked up the driveway before I could change my mind. Evan opened the door before I knocked. His face looked older somehow, like the last few hours had carved something permanent into him. What are you doing here? He asked. I wanted to talk, I said. He glanced down at the box. His jaw tightened. You shouldn't have bought that. I know, I said quickly. I know. I snapped. That was the first time I said it out loud, and it made me feel small. Like I was already apologizing for something I didn't fully regret. His mom appeared behind him in the hallway, wearing her silk robe, lips pressed into that thin, polite line she used when she wanted to pretend she was better than anger. You can leave that outside, she said calmly. We don't bring things like that into this house. Something hot and reckless rose in my chest. Funny, I said. Since apparently I'm worse. Evan closed his eyes for a second. Delaney, stop. And that was when I realized something terrifying. He wasn't on my side. He wasn't even in the middle. He was already standing with her. And I was still standing on their front porch, holding proof that I'd finally lost control. The porch light buzzed overhead, that faint electric hum that makes everything feel more exposed than it should. Evan stepped outside and pulled the door mostly closed behind him, like he was containing me. Or hiding me. I couldn't tell which hurt more. Give me the box, he said quietly. No. Delaney, he said, rubbing his forehead. You showing that on a video call to my parents? Do you realize how that looks? How it looks? I laughed, and it came out thin and shaky. She told you I bring bad luck. She didn't. Evan, I cut in. Did she say it or not? He didn't answer. And that was answer enough. Behind the door, I could hear his mother's voice, low, urgent, controlled. Not yelling. Worse. Managing. Evan reached for the box again. This time, he actually touched it. Let me fix this, he said. Please. Just give it to me. And here's the mistake that cost me something real. I did. I handed it over because some part of me still believed he was my partner. That he'd protect me, or at least protect us. He took the box, opened his car trunk, and set it inside like it was toxic waste. Then he turned back to me and said, very gently, you should go home tonight. Home. Not our place. Not I'll come with you. Just go. My throat burned. Are you serious? You scared her, he said again, like it was the only sentence he had left. And you made us look unstable. Us. The front door opened behind him. His mom stepped out onto the porch, arms folded inside her robe sleeves. I'm not angry, she said, voice soft. I'm concerned. People who make impulsive, threatening gestures, that's not healthy. Threatening. Like I was dangerous. Like I was something to manage, not someone to understand. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, it's legal. I didn't point it at anyone. Evan flinched anyway. His mom smiled, small, sad, satisfied. Legality and stability aren't the same thing, dear. Dear. That was the moment I felt it, something inside me finally breaking loose from wanting their approval. I looked at Evan. Really looked. and realized he was never going to choose me over the version of me his family could tolerate. I walked down the driveway without another word. Halfway to my car, Evan called after me. "We'll talk tomorrow." I didn't turn around. But when I got into my car, I realized something worse than losing them. I had just handed them something they could use against me. I sat in my apartment parking lot until the sun started coming up, hands locked around the steering wheel, watching the sky turn that washed-out winter gray. I expected to feel rage. Instead, I felt embarrassed. Like I'd shown them the ugliest, most impulsive version of myself, and then politely handed it over for storage. By 7 a.m., my phone buzzed with an email from Evan. Not a text. Not a call. An email. Subject line: "We need to pause." I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. It was polite. Structured. Calm. Like a work memo. "I think it would be best if we take some space while things cool down. Mom is really shaken. I need time to process what happened tonight. I'll keep covering rent for February. We can talk about next steps later." No mention of the engagement ring sitting on my bathroom counter. No mention of 3 years together. Just logistics. That was when the hurt finally burned into something sharper. Not loud. Not dramatic. Cold. Around noon, I called in sick to work, turned off my phone, and sat at my kitchen table with coffee that went cold before I drank it. I replayed everything, Thanksgiving, Christmas, last night. The way Evan always translated his mother's cruelty into miscommunication. The way I kept shrinking to fit inside their comfort. By 2 p.m., the panic was gone. By 3, I felt clear in a way that scared me. They thought I was unstable, impulsive, emotional. Fine. I opened my laptop. I didn't start with revenge. Not really. I started with facts. Lease, only in my name. Utilities, mine. Joint savings, small, but documented. His car insurance, tied to our address. His mother's helpful cosign on his last credit card, still active. Then I remembered something small, almost stupid. Last spring, when Evan switched jobs, his mom insisted he keep using her accountant. Family loyalty, she called it. And I had handled uploading half his tax documents, including one thing he probably forgot I ever saw. I sat back in my chair, heart beating slow and steady now. This wasn't about destroying him. This was about removing myself in a way they couldn't rewrite into Delaney lost control. At 5:40 p.m., I turned my phone back on. 32 notifications. I ignored all of them. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to someone I hadn't spoken to in almost a year. Then I pressed call. And when she answered, I said, "Hi, Mrs. Alvarez. I think you should know something about your son's finances." Mrs. Alvarez didn't speak for a full 3 seconds. Then she said very calmly, "Delaney, why are you calling me about Evan's finances?" I stared at the coffee stain on my kitchen table. "Because I'm not trying to hurt him," I said. "I'm trying to make sure you don't get hurt either." Silence again. Not confused. Calculating. "What happened?" she asked. So I told her. Not dramatically. Not like a victim speech. Just facts. New Year's Eve. The email. The pause. The way the house, the address tied to the credit account she co-signed, was about to become only mine if I removed him from the lease like I legally could. "I'm not reporting anything," I added. "I'm not freezing anything. I just thought you should know before he spins it." She exhaled slowly. "He told me you were having an episode." I closed my eyes. I figured. "Did you buy a firearm?" she asked blunt. "Yes," I said. "Legally. It's locked in a safe now. I regret the timing, not the purchase." Another pause. Then, "Thank you for calling me." She hung up first. My hands shook after, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From realizing I'd just stepped completely outside their narrative. At 7 p.m., Evan called. I answered. "What did you tell my mother?" he asked. "No hello." "The truth," I said. "You had no right." "I had every right," I said quietly. "She's financially tied to you. She deserved accurate information. You're trying to turn my family against me." "No," I said. I'm making sure they can't turn me into a story. He went silent. Then lower. Mom's coming to see you tomorrow. That surprised me. Okay.
She's not happy, he said. I'm not either, I said.
After we hung up, I sat on my couch, staring at the dark TV screen, seeing my reflection, tired, pale, older than I felt 2 days ago. This wasn't victory. It wasn't revenge fireworks. It was chess. Slow, quiet, irreversible moves. At 10:12 p.m., I got an email notification from our apartment complex management. Subject: lease modification request, Evan Cross. I hadn't submitted that. I opened it and realized Evan had just made his own move. I read the email 3 times before the words settled into something real. Lease modification request, removal of co-occupant, Evan Cross. Pending management approval. He was trying to take himself off the lease before I could force the issue. My stomach dropped, not because he was leaving but because of the note attached. Tenant cited unsafe domestic environment. Supporting documentation may be requested. I actually laughed.
Once.
Short and disbelieving. Unsafe. My hands went cold as I imagined exactly what he was doing, getting ahead of it, planting language, making sure if anyone asked questions, I'd already look unstable on paper. I opened our shared document folder. Still there. Still synced. Inside was the scanned receipt from the firearm purchase. My signature. Timestamped New Year's Eve.
God.
I pressed my palms into my eyes, breathing hard. This was the cost of my mistake. I had given him something that looked terrible without context.
Fine.
I opened a new email draft to property management. Calm tone. Clear language. Documentation attached. Lease payment history. Security system logs. My legal purchase paperwork. Safety certification course. Facts only. No emotion. Because if Evan wanted this to become official, then I was done being the only one playing fair. I reread the draft twice, forcing myself to delete every sentence that sounded defensive. Property managers don't care about feelings. They care about liability. I added one line, no law enforcement incidents have ever occurred at this residence. Then I attached my safety course certificate, something I'd taken 6 months ago, long before New Year's Eve, because my job sometimes kept me late downtown. I'd almost forgotten about it. Now it mattered. My finger hovered over send longer than it should have. Because once I sent it, this stopped being a relationship problem. It became documentation. Paper trails. Versions of truth that don't care who cries harder. I pressed send. The whoosh sound felt louder than usual. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Not Evan. His mother. Just 3 words. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. No greeting. No threat. Just inevitability. I stared at the message. Pulse slow. Steady. For the first time since New Year's Eve, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was waiting.